Hey everyone, welcome to MT Guitar and to another edition of Music Theory Monday. Hope you had a nice weekend. Today I want to talk about the minor key, and I want to use the song I Will by Radiohead as a great example of that. And I'm going to play the song at the end of the video, so stick around for that. It's only a 2-minute long song. Okay, that's the progression for the first half of the song. I'll teach us how to play that note for note in this lesson. There'll be a tab for that on the Patreon, as well as a study guide on the minor key. So check that out. Subscribe, hit the bell icon, the thumbs up. So let's talk about the minor key. A lot of educators will talk about the minor key as being the 6th chord, and they'll do that in hopes of making the minor key more digestible. And while there's some benefit to that, and surely I've explained it like that at times and also thought of it like that. However, there's a lot of limitations to that, because let's unpack what the 6th chord means. So the 6th chord means that it's the relative minor of the major key. In this case, 6, 7, 8, or 6, 7, 1. That would be the relative minor of E major. So let's do a thought experiment and say, what if this was the 6th chord? Okay, what does that even mean? It means it's the relative minor of E major. All right, C sharp minor and E major have the same key signature. So there's some value to seeing that connection. Problem is, when I go through the progression of this song, here's the 6th chord, okay, under this system, and then the next 2 chords are A and G sharp. All right, well, the A would be the 4 chord of E. Doesn't really sound like a 4 chord. And then this would be the 3 chord of E. Doesn't really sound like a 3 chord either. And furthermore, in the key of E major, 3 would normally be minor. Now we're making it major to drive home this C sharp minor chord. So to think of it as a 4, 3, 6 progression is not how I like to think of it, because it's just confusing. The 1 chord is home, and this feels like home. We don't even get an E major chord until the second half of the song, and it only happens in passing. And the song starts and ends sort of really rooted in the C sharp minor. So if we think of this as our 1 chord, okay, we would lowercase that 1 in a Roman numeral to make it clear that it's minor. Now we have A major. Now we're going to reroute our thinking to this minor key. So this would be a flat 6, okay? And I'll talk about what that means in a sec. But a flat 6, we're going to look at the minor scale, so that'll make more sense. But the flat 6 is a half step above the 5. All right, now the 5 chord can always be major, even in a minor key. If I looked at the diatonic key of C sharp minor, the 5 chord should have been minor if we didn't make any alterations to the key. But the problem with that is that then it doesn't drive home the 1 chord. So the 5 chord can always be major or dominant 7th. And that's true in a minor key, and that's why I want to think of this as our 1, because the 5 all of a sudden makes sense. The reason it likes to be a major is because the 3rd of the 5, which is in this case, B sharp, is the 7 of C sharp. And it really drives home the 1, okay? And theory always follows the music. So a lot of writers in the last 800 years, right, have written songs in a minor key with the 5 chord being major, even though it doesn't fit in the key signature. There is no B sharp in the key of C sharp minor or E. But when we go to the 5 chord, everyone's ears tends to, at least consider this as a major chord, naturally, and then theory catches up and writes it down. Oh, a 5 chord can be major, because we know that this obviously sounds great. So the 5 chord really drives home the 1 chord, which is why we want to think of C sharp minor as the 1 chord, not as the 6th chord. Hopefully that's been a convincing case for you. So we have flat 6 to 5. Flat 6 and 5 are both major, resolves to 1. That's the first whole half of the song. Let's look at the scale and melody of this song to further sort of illustrate the minor key. A natural minor scale would have, the frets would be 4, 6, 7 on the 5th string. I'm going to tell us the scale degrees though. So 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6. Notice the flat 6 is a half step above the 5. As is the flat 3 is a half step above the 2. So those are two of the main differences in the minor scale from the major scale. 1, 2, half step to flat 3. Okay. 4, 5, half step to flat 6. Flat 7, 1. There's an octave of the natural minor scale. Well, let's go to the next octave here. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7. Okay, then we can reach up to the 1 if we want to leave position. All right, now, what you can do is this week, as you're practicing for your Music Theory Monday homework, you can loop a minor progression by going 1, flat 6 to 5. 1, flat 6, 5. Now when you go to the 5 chord, if you want an extra credit or some bonus, you can do a harmonic minor scale. Why would you do that? Well, because when you go to the 5 chord, there's a non-diatonic note there, which is B sharp, and that would be the natural 7. And that's the only thing that really changes. So it's possible that when you're messing around in a minor key in the past, listening to a song and playing along with it, that you stumble across this scale and say, wow, how is that working so well? Well, it works over the 5 chord in a minor key because if the 5 chord is major, you would access that chord tone of the 5, which is the major 7 of the minor key. Have I confused you yet? Hopefully you understand that we're just making one alteration to a minor scale over the 5 chord, and that's the natural 7 of the key. But if that's too much for you to digest right now, just play natural minor through a minor progression and think of C sharp, for instance, as your 1, or whatever your minor key is. Okay? Let's look at Tom York's melody. Further illustrating how we're in a minor key, we're not in a major key. So he's starting on the 5th degree. I will lay me down. Okay? So he's starting on the 5th degree. Right? Here's our C sharp minor. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5. I will. Walking down to the 1. And then flat 3 to 2. The 2 is a wonderful note to play over the 5 chord because it's a chord tone. In a bunker. Same thing. 5 down to 1. Under. Sometimes it goes up to the 5. Ground. Which is the root of the 5 chord. Okay? I won't let this happen to my children. Again, just beautiful melody, really centered around C sharp minor. Okay, so as you're learning songs like this, which I'm going to teach you in a couple minutes, just notice that the C sharp minor is our 1 chord. We're in a minor key. We have the flat 3, flat 6, flat 7. The 5 chord can always be major. If that's all you remember from this video, I've done my job, because really, we want to really pay attention to the flat 3, flat 6, flat 7, and that the 5 chord can be major. If you do that, you should be able to maneuver around. There's other things to learn about the minor key, including the chords that work, but that's where you can think of it as, okay, well, what works in E major? And maybe I'm being a little hypocritical, but you can learn from the major key as well. In the major key, you'd have these chords, and those chords all work in C sharp minor. But then the 5 chord, you can make major. Okay? It's called a secondary dominant. But in this case, it's just a 5 chord of the 1 chord. So let's zoom in and learn this song note for note so you can have a song in your repertoire that's firmly rooted in a minor key.
White elephants in ducks, I will rise up. Little baby's eyes,
All right, if you're still here, this song is pretty easy to learn. Tom York played it with a pick, but I really like it with the fingers. So you could do either one. The notes are exactly the same. The first measure is just a 5 chord. Since we've gone through the work of doing the Roman numerals, we're going to get our G sharp bar chord ready here. Okay, and we're going to separate the bass from the chord. Okay, so that would be bass, chord, bass, bass, chord, bass. And when you do the bass, do it with your thumb, 6th string. The chord, I recommend the 3 fingers or the pick, whatever, on the 4th, 3rd, 2nd strings. Like that. I will. Okay. C sharp minor, 1 chord. Bass, chord, bass, bass, chord, bass, chord. Bass, chord, bass, bass, chord, bass, chord. A major 7. Now, you could do a A bar chord, but you can see clearly from Tom York's live performances of this that he's just moving the bass here, keeping the chord there. That's an A major 7. So the 5th string is muted. So you have 5th fret, muted 5th string, 6, 6, 5. So you're going to go bass, chord, bass, bass, chord. Now open, and then G sharp. Okay, and instead of just the chord, he did a little riff here. Right, so that would be bass. Now lift your pinky from the 4th string to go to 6th fret 3rd string. And that's a G sharp sus. And then go to 5th fret. So bass, 2nd string, bass, 1st string. And then bass, chord, bass, bass, chord, bass. So that's the entire first line. Let's run that. Okay, so actually start on the G sharp here. I will let me down. Okay? Okay, good. And then this just repeats with a slight change at the end here. So then basically the same thing, except it goes bass, chord, bass, chord, bass, chord. Little rhythmic variation there. A major 7, bass, chord, bass, bass, chord, open, G sharp. Same riff. Okay. So that happens 3 times. So after 3 times of that, we get to the bridge. So let's run the entire verse once through, even though it would be 3 times through. Ready? Starting with the G sharp.
I will lay me down in a bunker underground.
Okay, good. So after doing that 3 times, we would get to this bridge here. All right, so for the bridge, we have a slightly different pattern here. And it's going to be just a full A bar chord, not the A major 7. So bass, chord, and then bass. But this first bass that he bounces off is the open 6th string. And then F sharp minor, bass, chord, bass. Slide up to 4th fret. Then 4th, 3rd, 4th strings, right? So right? Now E major, bass, chord, bass, F sharp, bass, chord, bass, G sharp, bass, chord, bass. And that repeats. So let's run that whole thing. Ready? 3, 4. Again.
Little baby's eyes.
Okay. After twice through that, one more time. But this time we start repeating the E to F sharp. Like that. And then we go to G sharp, bass, chord, bass, bass, chord, bass, and the song in a C sharp minor. So really, fairly simple song. Just a few chords and the fingers are nice for it. You could also use a pick. Hopefully that makes sense. Let me know.